Kei ngā ngāpara e tūramarama ana I te motu tēnā koutou katoa. Welcome to Mata with me, Mihingarangi Forbes, brought to you by Te Māngai Pāho and the Public Interest Journalism Fund. This is the last of our extended interviews with party leaders before the election. Hoi anō, ko taku manuhiri tuarangi I tēnei hōtaka, ko te kaiarihi takirua o te Pāti Māori, ko Rawiri Waititi. I te tūngane, tēnā koe, me ngā mihi ata whai ki a koe I te rirunga o tō kōka.
Tēnā koe e mihi, kia ora tātou.
Your mum just passed away. I was wondering what she thought of you becoming an MP.
I think she was extremely proud. And Mum was a very humble person. You know, losing her over the last week kind of puts things into perspective about actually what really matters. And what really matters is to ensure we always know who we are, who we represent, and that we're all striving for a better apopo for her mokopuna. And Mum was an absolute, her mokopuna loved her, she loved her mokopuna, and I think the future was about ensuring that they had a brighter apopo.
Ia koe e tamariki ana, e kaha tō whare ki te wānanga I ngā take tōranga pū o te wā?
Eta, tika tunu e nā kōrero. Ko te tōranga pū, kei te tepu hākari, e kōrero tia. And so my father was part of Peter Tapsell's team and with the Labour Party. The generation before that, my grandfather, Rawiri Waititi, they were very apirana people. So, you know, politics wasn't too far from the dinner table. And then growing up with Auntie June in Auckland, you know, they called it Downing Street. You had Tuku up the road and Tau up the road and JT next door, and very political family.
You couldn't get away from it.
You couldn't get away from it, yes.
Aotearoa Hou is one of the slogans. You also forced Parliament to start thinking about a whare parimata hou when you refused to wear the necktie, describing it as the colonial noose. Is Parliament racist? I
think Parliament, absolutely. And if I look at the state-sponsored terrorism of our people over the last 183 years, absolutely. And the system that it perpetuates those types of policies that ensures some get ahead and some don't. And even just the tax, I'll just use that as an example, is the tax system. The tax system is actually built to ensure that rich people get ahead and that poor people pay for that. And so that, you know, we need transformative changes. Re-indigenising that space of an oppressive system is exactly what the Pāti Māori need to be doing. And we've done that. We've put more, there's more reo, there's more waiata, there's more, you can see ourselves more in that house now than we ever have before.
In this campaign, it seems more offensive for someone to be called racist than for them to actually be racist and inflict, you know, harm on others. Why do you think that is? Oh,
I think it's at the moment it's become the catch cry for many people, and it's emboldening.
Are you surprised by that?
Yeah. Not really, because you know, I've been watching social theory play itself out, and social theory has been used by people like Hitler and Trump. I'm just going to say it, like this is just an open conversation about, and they used words like subhuman. You know, the Nazis used words like subhuman to describe the Jews. Trump was using those types of words and hammering the media, and you know that there's segregation, separation. All of those were white supremacist tools used against black people. Apartheid, you know, they're saying that Māori Health Authority, that Māori wards is a type of apartheid. How could you use words like that where Indigenous peoples are now using apartheid against white people? That is absolutely, and I just don't get it. And people are buying into it. And that's the social theory we're hearing at the moment.
And so when you raise that, like you did in the minor parties or the multi-party debate the other night, you got quite a pushback by the likes of Winston Peters. You know, how do you take that?
Well, he wants the 5% who believe in his type of rhetoric to get him over the line. We're talking about 150,000 people out there who are getting him to his 5%. He don't give a damn too much about the 95% out there. It's the 5% that will get him back into Parliament. And he'll sell his whakapapa down the road to whoever's buying it.
What are you most proud of? You know, you've been there for 3 years now. What's your greatest achievement? I
think our greatest achievement is instilling some pride and some hope into our people in a space that hasn't really provided that. You know, we've got the rhetoric at the moment, like you must vote for Labour in order to keep acting national. You know, our people have got to understand what the power of their vote is. And in actual fact, Māori do not get Labour into Parliament. Pākehā do. The percentage that Labour gets in their party vote doesn't come from us. It comes from Pākehā voters. And so if we were strategic about MMP and stop thinking FPP, which is first past the post, that's a 1993 type thinking. That's where we're thinking at the moment. Major parties must get this one over the line. It doesn't work like that. MMP, we're now seeing the power of MMP. If our people voted, like, say for instance, Labour was at 33%, and the Pāti Māori got 7 Māori seats, that's 33% plus 7 Māori seats. If Labour get the 7 Māori seats plus 33%, they only still get 33%. And this is the reason why we should not buy in to the first past the post rhetoric, which is back in 1993, and two ticks to Pāti Māori to ensure that there is a left bloc government heading into this next election.
How does it sit for you propping up a major party? Is it a rangatira move?
No, it's not. And for a long time...
So will you not do that?
No, for a long time we've been, people say, oh, you must be at the table, you must be at the table. Like, it's an illusion to think that we are at anybody's table. We are invited by Pākehā. We're invited. Somebody sits there and says, right, you can be a minister if you're a good boy, and you're a minister if you're a good brown boy. And that's the illusion that we're under. It's not our table, first of all, and it's not our type of kai. I don't do cucumber sandwiches. I don't do too well with cucumbers. But, we want our own hakari on that table. We want to be able to create our own table, and we want to be able to make our own decisions.
So are you saying that the old Māori party with Dame Tariana and Peter were wrong?
I think they were right for their time. But this is a different time for our people, and you can see there's a shift. 70% of our people are 40 years and younger. You can see there's a shift, and there's a growing interest of our people who are more aware. Social media, I think, has also played that part in terms of some of the bigger, broader issues that are happening out there for our people, and what are the kind of transformational policies that are going to make a difference for our people, not just compromising in a space that really hasn't been conducive to the development of Te Iwi Māori. So decolonisation is one, but the re-indigenisation of that space is actually where our people are at right now.
So with all that, what is the purpose of Te Pāti Māori in Parliament? Like, how do you make change?
If you look at Te Pāti Māori now, we've made huge changes. And like you said, so there's a pushback against Parliament, which is the enduring system. Not governments. Governments come and go like Te Rauparaha-saka, kamate, kaora every three years. But Parliament is the enduring thing. That's the one that protects the mana of the crown. And so we've pushed back in that space, ensuring that we don't wear ties. We want to be able to reflect our own cultural identity in their place. We hear more reo, we hear more waiata, we're hearing more pushback in terms of our own tikanga in that space. We've got up and done karakia, for the new speaker that's come, and nobody does those things, and ensuring that our voice is heard proudly, the unceded voice of our people. That's the first thing. The second one is many of the Māori Party manifesto has been achieved by Labour, and that's been in opposition. And so if you have a look at Labour Party's Māori manifesto, they don't have one. And so we welcome them to haramai tiki ketu roti te kete kōrero te Pāti Māori, hei oranga mo te iwi Māori. Come to the kete, come and grab the policies, because they will benefit.
Which ones are you saying that they've come to?
I think the increase in whānau funding, the Matariki holiday was a bill introduced by Te Pāti Māori back in 2009. The Māori Health Authority, Te Pāti Māori was the only party that campaigned on the Māori Health Authority back in 2020. The Matatini increase to Te Matatini funding. In our Māori Party manifesto, we said 90 million. That's where it's at right now, but it needs to be annual funding, not just every, because they said it only goes up to 2 years. What happens after that? We go back to raffles. And so these are the things that Te Pāti Māori have been able to achieve. A targeted Māori housing plan, that was Te Pāti Māori again through our Kāinga Build policy. I'm telling you, and if you have a look at the Labour Māori manifesto, they don't have one.
So depending on how the numbers fall, where do you see Te Pāti Māori in the greatest, strongest position? Would you go into a coalition? Would you sit outside one? Would the crossbench is the one for you? Like, if people are going to vote for you, what are they going to look for?
I think our people understand the quarter that we've been having. And so if you look at the marae, if you look at our wharenui, you've got one mahi on the left and one mahi on the right. I think Te Pāti Māori always need to be the tapu of that marae which sits in the kōrero. And so it doesn't matter whether you're left or right, because we're straight up the guts and we're Te Iwi Māori, and we should be always sitting there making the decisions. And whether the left or the right are saying, this is how we're voting, we should be always making that decision to say, in actual fact, no, that's going to harm our people.
So are you saying that if the right, and we'll say they're national for now, have a policy that you you like, you'll vote with them.
Well, if there is a policy that doesn't harm our people, and we've got to go through, is it Tiriti-centric? Does it build a Tiriti-centric Aotearoa? Does it continue to harm tangata whenua? Is it fair on tangata Tiriti as well? Those are all the things that we will start ticking off. And if absolutely, we will say, yes, we will support that. But if we don't support it, we'll be just going the other way.
Are you opening the door to a relationship?
No. I don't think
national?
it's opening the door to anybody. It's opening the door to having robust conversations about what is the best for tangata whenua and tangata Tiriti to start moving towards a Tiriti-centric Aotearoa and start creating this Aotearoa ho that we all aspire to.
You know, when you hear Christopher Luxon say he'd never work with Te Pāti Māori, and then you reflect on, you know, the gains that Tariana and Peter did get with Sir John Key government, what do you think of his kōrero?
Oh, I think he's out of touch, and I think he pulled the trigger on that a little bit too early. And that shows his inexperience, because I know he's inexperienced. He's just as inexperienced as I am, because both of us went in on the 2020, the class of 2020. But I think he pulled the trigger too early. And again, catering to a certain demographic. They don't want to see Māori achieving anything and just think that we're assimilated and we're all Kiwis. And so that's the first thing I want to make. And the other one is he said, I don't think we could work with Te Pāti Māori because they're not the same as, the leadership is not the same as Tariana and Pete. Well, the National Party isn't the same leadership as John Key and Bill English either. And let me just put it that way. And they don't have a he kia parata, and they don't have a, they don't have
He awa no.
He awa no. And so it's a very different national party. And then the rhetoric coming out of that national party is not the same as you saw during the John Key time. So I just want to push back on that. That's the first thing. That's the second thing. The third thing is that I think I will be expecting a phone call October the 14th because I've heard him now say on several occasions that he is absolutely unwilling to work with Winston Peters. And so if he needs about 2 or 3 seats to get over the line, I'm sure he'll be giving us a call. What the conversation is two different things.
Will you answer? And what would your voters think about you and David Seymour and Christopher Luxon?
Yeah. And that's the issue. So actors are very, I can put that on the record now, that we will not be working with ACT. National Voice already ruled us out in terms of working with us. But I'm sure if he was politically strategic, I think we'll be getting a call come October 14th, 15th.
As a party leader, you've had to debate other politicians, mostly in the Western setting, and in Te Ao Māori, if those debates were on a marae, it would be on the marae āti, and you could, say what you wanted. Is it a level playing field for Māori politicians, do you think, the campaigning, the run-up to?
I think it's what's made me ineffective, because I know nothing about Pākehā politics. I knew nothing about the chamber before I went in there, to be quite honest, in terms of standing orders. I never really read those or speakers' rulings.
Told off a few times.
And but everything I have done has been guided by those standing orders and by the speaker's rulings. And so I've been able to get away with a lot of things, regardless of being kicked out for being disorderly. But actually the kaupapa I've pushed back on have actually come out of holes in those standing orders. And so standing orders is what guides the House. The laws are what guides civilians outside of the House. And so those are some of the things that I've been able to do. But I've been able to implement the way I speak, which has been modelled o whai kōrero. And so all of our people out there, he tangata whai kōrero, he tangata karanga, he māmano te uru atu ki roti tēnā whare. It's easy for us to go into that whare and translate how we do it on the marae. And in actual fact, if Parliament was to take the same tikanga on the marae, it would be a hell of a lot safer, a lot more robust, and a lot more jovial, but I think a lot more in depth in terms of the way we deliver our kōrero and getting our point across.
I've seen you stand next to some of those leaders and have raised eyebrows. Winston, in particular, when Winston calls himself an ordinary Māori, and he uses that term a lot. When you consider the average Māori male is just 25 years old and is earning just $45,000 a year, is Winston anywhere near the ordinary Māori?
I don't know what he means by ordinary Māori, because Māori means ordinary. If you think about it, just purity. It's a word he's using again to produce the social theory that he's conjuring up, and he's creating it. And what social theory does, and I explained it before, is it creates moral panic and fear into older, it's creating it into older Pākehā people, where they deserve to actually retire with some dignity and some peace. And they should do that. Then none of them have actually been affected by any gang before. Let me just put it that way. But there's this rhetoric that he's using, an ordinary Māori, subhuman, And so it's a classist type thing that he's using, and it's colonial. It's still, I call it neo-colonialism.
And at the other end, he's talking about elite Māori, and I think he's suggesting
that I'm
perhaps
an
you
elite
might be an elite Māori. What is an elite Māori?
I have no idea. I have no idea what an ordinary Māori is, and I have no idea what an elite Māori is. I just know that, we're all trying to make it in a system that hasn't been created by us, and some have been able to get through it, and many have been left behind. And so when you've got 100,000 people homeless in this country, 60,000 of those being Māori, 50% of the social housing waiting list being Māori, 50% of the male prison population being Māori, 64% of the female prison population being Māori. You tell me what's ordinary. Is that ordinary? He wants to keep things status quo. He doesn't want a Māori health authority to close the health inequities. The gap between Māori and non-Māori dying is 7 to 10 years. And so, all of those things is telling me, no, you ordinary Māori, do what you're told, be subjugated, be assimilated in the system, and just continue to have these types of results. That's what an ordinary Māori is to him.
What do you make of David Seymour's interpretation of Te Tiriti?
He doesn't have an interpretation. And
ngā tikanga rite tonu.
Yes,
rite tahi.
Rite tahi. So he likes to take parts of ngā tikanga rite tahi. But he never ever talks about Article 2, which is to be undisturbed of our possessions, of our full and exclusive rights to our possessions, to our estates, to our whenua, to our taonga. And so, to our kāinga, to our taonga. And so these are the things that they like to pick and choose. It's a bit like, I would say even some of the Christian-based parties I'm hearing, they pick and choose what they want from the Bible. In actual fact, let's look at the whole context of it and not silo them out. And so Te Tiriti o Waitangi was a document. I don't believe in the principles of Te Tiriti o Waitangi. There's no such thing as principles. When I sign a contract, it's the words that matter. It's the words. I can't say, oh, you acted out, you breached the contract. No, I acted in the principles of it.
David Seymour doesn't really talk about who he talks to about Te Tiriti, but Winston Peters often name checks Sir Apirana Ngata. Who do you look to for, your knowledge of Te Tiriti?
Well, look, and like I said, in a time and space, Tāpirana had to do what he needed to do in Parliament while he was there. In actual fact, some of the greatest work that Apirana did was when he left Parliament. And so I could hold up books, ngā mōtete. Let's just go through the ngā mōtete books. Let's just go through the ngā Rauru Wānanga.
Your mātanga, though.
Oh!
Who do you speak to and who do you reflect on?
I have many. So Apirana is definitely I look at all the all his the Hansard. I read a lot through Hansard, but I don't have one or two. Moana Jackson is definitely one of those. And when I go home, there's Ikirangi Gage, there's Dale Takitimu, my wife. I have wānanga with many people. Rob Ruha and I wānanga all the time about our different spaces. Going to the Paukai, going to the Koroneihana, listening to the kōrero on the pai. Those are the kōrero that matter. Listening to rangatahi and what it means for them today. And so Te Tiriti shouldn't be holding us back. It actually should be the document that is the foundation of everything that we do, but it shouldn't be holding us back. And it should allow us to be able to have those discussions, whether you're tangata whenua or tangata tiriti, about how we build a better Aotearoa for all of us. Campaigns
can be ruthless, and earlier this year, Heather Theo Skipworth stood aside for Meka Whaitiri. Did you ask her to step aside?
We had the discussion with Heather and her whānau, and at the end of the discussion, that came out, and she said, and I take my hat off to Heather first of all for the mahi that she does in terms of the Iron Māori space, the mahi she was doing with the DHB for our people, and the movement for Heather when we had those discussions. This is what came from her. That was the most important thing, was the movement. And she said, when you have the keys to unshackle your cousin, she says, what do? You unshackle your cousin. And so that's what we took from out of that.
She had done a lot of years for Te Pāti Māori,
absolutely.
And at the same time, Meka had been with the Labour Party, who you often criticise.
Yes.
Was it really a rangatira move to switch her out for her?
I think, well, that switch out actually happened with the discussion with Heather and Meka's whānau. And so they're the same whānau. And so we don't just say, well, you're out, you're in. You wānanga those things as a people. And yes, I get that there are some mamai stuff that happens, but it's about how we work through that mamai for many people. But at the end of the day, Heather made that decision for herself. There was no backlash in the kōreros that we had. We went on to the marae the next day. She presented her cousin. And so the reality is that we wānanga through those things. We try to do our best to wānanga through it so people, you know, there was less impact or nuclear type of impact on our people. But at the end of the day, I still love Heather, and I love her whānau, and I love her commitment for our people. Her and Waino, they do some awesome mahi for our people. And actually, Waino, I'm waiting for my leather jacket that you were going to make. But at the end of the day, we will always try and offer our people as much as we can, and that the movement it's bigger than me. I'm already looking at my succession. I'm not going to be there forever. Like I said, 70% of our people are 40 years and younger. I'm not that category anymore. And so and it's about looking at how we continue the movement and not base it around personalities.
Ka pai, 53% of New Zealanders have indicated they want some kind of a wealth tax, but the opposition is fierce. What will it take to get some movement there, do you think?
I think it's going to take some very brave people. For us, we're absolutely committed to a wealth tax. It's actually what came out of many reports from the time of Cullen all the way through to Robinson, even English. And those reports have all come back, those are the Treasury reports have all come back to say that there should have been a wealth tax. Our wealth tax will change it's transformative and will change the tax setting of this country. The 2% that control 50% of this country's wealth must now start to contribute more to the infrastructure of this country and to allow some dignity at this other end, where people are paying between 24 and 33% tax. You know, not only that, the rest of their salary goes on, you know, trying to live on rents, on rents and things like that. Well, we're not even having a cost of living; we're in a cost of poverty.
One of your responses to the cost of living crisis is to call for kai sovereignty. What does that look like? Oh,
kai sovereignty, like I said, is first of all, let's take GST off kai. Let's break the duopoly of those supermarkets so they can't raise those price hikes, and allowing tangata whenua into the market, which will create better opportunity for us.
So food chain, this is what you've been talking about, food chain. Do you think it's already in the throes?
Yes, I do. And we need to just open up the door to allow those discussions to happen.
Who's involved and what would it look like?
I don't know. I don't know if we can disclose who's involved, but I know iwi are involved at this particular time. But if you have a look at our power in that particular space, 50% of the fishing quota, we are 30% of the dairy industry. We're around about the same for beef and sheep, but also in the agriculture sector, the horticulture sector. And now we're moving into the aquaculture sector in terms of farming in our moana. And so we are ready to go. We are ready to go.
If you were to be in a position of power, would you ensure that say there was a third chain, that they would have to supply kai to those hard-to-get areas like Te Heku, like Te Tairāwhiti?
Yes, and absolutely. And then create opportunity for kai that's been wasted to be able to, to go into those communities that need it more. You know, we've got enough food here in Aotearoa to feed 40 million people. We're only 5 million strong. You got 100,000 people homeless. You know, you got 60% of those being Māori. It's just a horrible outcome. And we've got to be transformative. And this is what the Pāti Māori brings to this: is some humanity to politics. Unfortunately, everybody else is focused on economics.
I want to ask you a question, because we talk about the Westminster system, the Crown, but because Te Pāti Māori is running in this system, what is Te Pāti Māori? Is it the Crown?
No, we're absolutely definitely not the Crown. The Crown is Parliament, if I could say that. And so if you become government, you are upholding Parliament. And so that's why I'm a little bit hesitant to go into government, because then you just become part of the problem. Is Te Pāti Māori, is that what we're destined to be? I don't think so. And I think the times have changed. So Te Pāti Māori is very different to the Māori Party of the past. Te Pāti Māori actually is a not just aspirational but transformative political movement for our people inside of Parliament. But we're only 1 cent in the dollar. The other part of the movement sits outside of it. And we're talking about kura kaupapa, kohanga reo. They're all 1 cent. We're all trying to make up our dollar of oranga. And so Te Pāti Māori, in a political sense, is 1 cent in the dollar of our oranga.
There was a poll that had you near 4%. Is that the highest Te Pāti Māori's ever?
No, there was one that had us at 7%. And that was the Roy Morgan poll. Like 7%.
What would that mean for Te Pāti Māori? Tell us who would get through.
9. That would be 9 MPs.
Who's number 9?
That would be, so all the Māori seats are at 7. Merepeka is at 8. I think there'll be one of the Kapakingi boys.
What would that be like?
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be absolutely wonderful. And you would see a good mix of people who are able to advocate for Te Iwi Māori, but also start to reflect our rangatahi, because I can tell you what, there's not one other party in this race that has a 21-year-old running for it, and the rest, like I said, 70% under 40, that's what our list reflects. Which
seats do you think you will take?
I think on a stink day, we're going to take 4. On a good day, we'll take all 7. And Merepeka comes through on the...
Are you including Hauraki in the 4?
Well, she was only 4% behind Anaya.
What do you need to get there? You need voters, right?
You need voters, and it's those who are unsure, the unsure voters out there, and those who probably don't vote. 180,000 Māori voted last time.
What is your message to those who say they're not voting, they don't care, Māori?
Well, it doesn't affect me, right? And so, but I know for a fact that none of them want a National Act government. And so they believe that their no vote will keep them out. In actual fact, a no vote is not going to keep them out, it's actually going to put them in. So we need our people to get out and vote. And the thing is if we want a Labour government, because they're the only ones that still have the door open to us for any negotiation, if you want a Labour government, if you want a left-leaning government, if you want a government that's committed to the social outcomes of our people, but you want to ensure that a Māori party voice is there, well, a Māori, an unapologetic, unseeded Māori voice is sitting around that table, you need to give 2 ticks to Pāti Māori, because your vote doesn't contribute. If you're voting for Labour, it doesn't contribute to the Labour percentage. I'm telling you that now. We don't have enough people in the Māori seats to contribute to the percentage that Labour gets over the line. It's Pākehā voters that get them over the line, not the Māori voters.
Have you done enough? What are you doing different to other, because we always have a missing million and all those kinds of things. They are Māori, they are young, they are rangatahi, first-time voters. Have you done enough?
I am seeing a surge of the next generation coming through and voting. And there's a miss. So there's pakeke, there's a miss in between, but I'm now seeing the rangatahi, and I'm thinking if we could put more. This group here, we've been trying to push for many years to get them to vote, and they're just out there trying to grind. They're on the grind. They're doing the mahi. I feel sorry for them. They're the working generation. But their next generation, they're connected social media. They are absolutely in touch with what's happening globally in terms of climate change. They know what's happening in terms of Black Lives Matter. They know what's happening in terms of the yes vote over in Australia. They know the Indigenous rights. They know the inequities that have happened between Indigenous peoples all over the world. They know, and I'm talking about tangata Tiriti as well. And so I call them Generation Tiriti. They're on the rise, and they're the ones that are going to make a difference.
Tēnā koe te tūngane. Tēnā koe. Kua kewa te rama kōrero o mata mo tēnei wā. We'll be back next week to discuss the election results, so make sure you join us. No doubt there'll be plenty to talk about. Ka nui te mihi ki te puna whakatongarewa me te Māngai Pāho. No horo mai.
Ko te reo, te take.